You know, it's not incompetence, like your monologue. It's like if you had people...
Wow. Okay. Congress is currently on a 2-week break, but my next guest never quits. It's California's own Congressman Ro Khanna. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. I want my drink. Bring my drink over here. Hi, Congressman.
That was a pretty good monologue.
It was pretty good. Thanks for saying that.
Gets better and better.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. All right. You gave, I want to talk to you about a variety of things, but when I saw this speech you gave at Yale 2 weeks ago at your alma mater, Yale Law School, a school where I was waitlisted.
Williams isn't that bad.
Well, I also was waitlisted at Yale for undergrad, and then again...
And there are not many Williams grads doing crazy stuff in the Trump administration, so you have that going for you.
Well, actually, I can't. We can talk about it after. But you gave this powerful speech, and it struck me because it didn't sound like a political speech we would hear today. It sounded like you were reaching for something bigger. You said, "Today great anger grips the public. From this disquiet rises not a call to reform, but to dismantle, to cast off the judges in their robes, the scholars in their gowns, and the press with its inconvenient questions." It stirred my speechwriter's heart. I used to have a serious job. What was the goal of the speech?
The goal of the speech was to show how dangerous the thinking is of what Vance and Trump are saying. I mean, it may sound glib for them to call universities the enemy, but this is the rhetoric that was used in the Chinese Cultural Revolution to go after intellectuals. This is the rhetoric used by authoritarians in Stalin's time to go after intellectuals. And the university is the place of freedom of thought, freedom of ideas, alternatives. And so it was to put that in context, and then it was to put into context how dangerous it is for them to be talking about going after the courts, defying the courts. And one of my favorite speeches, Lincoln's Lyceum Address, which I quote extensively in there. I mean, Lincoln is grappling with this huge issue about how do you make change at the time of the Civil War. And even he says you don't just reject the entire judiciary, you fight for equality through a constitutional system.
And it seems like one of the goals of the speech is to take on the specific way in which JD Vance is what I would describe as being an intellectual Zamboni for Trump, sort of coming behind him and sort of smoothing out, making it make sense.
He's trying his best.
He's trying his best. But you see him really committed to that project. You two went back and forth on social media where he was trying to do this. It culminated in him expressing himself, I think, very thoughtfully by saying about Congressman Khanna, quote, "You disgust me."
Called me whiny, too.
He called you whiny. Here's what you said in the speech in a more serious way in response to Vance, that Vance is as likely to destroy the life of an innocent man as he is to punish the guilty, and he does not seem to care. JD Vance, your cold indifference to the lives of vulnerable immigrants mocks every principle that this law school was built to uphold. Your affiliation with this law school is now a stain on the degree of every Yale graduate. I hope Yale's alumni, student, faculty, and administrators will have the moral clarity to say so plainly. Nice. So you're hoping they'll say so plainly. We've seen Columbia fail to stand up. We found it was very heartening to see that Harvard decided to stand up, but then we learned last week that they were in negotiations with the administration. And we don't know what was going to come of that, but it wasn't until they received that letter that they decided to go public. What did you hear from administrators on that campus? What are you hearing about this effort to kind of give these universities a little bit of confidence?
Well, President Garber, I thought, showed a lot of courage, from Harvard. Before that, the question is, what are they reluctant to fight about, right? It's the endowment. And look, in fairness, university presidents, if you talk to them, the last thing they want is to have the endowment less than when they took office. That's kind of their metric.
So sad.
And this
what a hard problem.
But when you have $50 billion, you can take some risks for the very principle of freedom of thought and freedom of expression. And by the way, there are probably a lot of people who are going to give you money for standing up for that. So it may not actually hurt your bottom line. But you look at Kingman Brewster, you look at James, he was at Yale when he stood up for freedom of speech during the Vietnam protests. You look at James Conant, who was at Harvard and stood up during McCarthyism. You look at Robert Hutchins, who stood up for freedom of thought at University of Chicago. I mean, there was a time where the university presidents, people nerds like me remember, are not based on the endowments. They're based on them standing up for the freedom of thought. And you know what's so sad about Vance? There are two things. One, it's the rank hypocrisy, right? I call them gatekeepers of privilege. They went to these schools. They will do anything, I guarantee you, for having their kids and go to these schools. And yet they attack these schools at a total false populism. Right? It's good for me, but no one else, everyone else is, you don't want to be affiliated with these universities. And they're attacking. I mean, if there's one thing that America should be proud of, it's our universities, from Rutgers to Princeton, from Yale to Ohio State, and they're attacking this. I mean, it is just, it's not incompetence, like your monologue. It's like if you had people,
Wow. Okay. All right. You can unlock a different version of me if you'd like.
It's self-destruction. Like it's like if you wanted to destroy stuff, not just, if they were incompetent, it's one thing. It's like they want to destroy every possible thing that's working.
Right. That if you couldn't come up with a better plan to undermine America from the inside than to make international students terrified of coming to our school, of making our schools, which have invited so much. I mean, you represent Silicon Valley. Like, how much of the wealth in Silicon Valley has been generated by people coming to this country to study, then staying and sort of lending their brilliance to our country. It does seem as though part of what they felt, this is, I think, what one of Trump's sort of aspects of his feral genius is, he sees weakness. And one of the weakness, I think, is the delta between the highfalutin morals of these places and the actual day-to-day administration of these places, and the places where they don't uphold liberal values, where they do look the other way when there are genuine ethical problems with how they're being run, with the way people are saddled with debt, with the fact that these schools, that prestige is a limited resource, and there's more and more students and no more spaces. And it makes me worry. I think one of the reasons maybe you felt you need to give this speech is we can't be sure that the kinds of people that are in the leadership at these schools now, schools built on bureaucracy, consensus, never been tested, are going to be the people that understand that this is a moment where they need to fight.
I think that's very well said. I mean, so you were a speechwriter.
I had a serious job once, believe it or not.
But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a time that people are being tested about, is it just about the prestige and the U.S. News rankings, or are you actually going to stand up for values? And are you going to stand up for freedom of thought and be willing to reform? Because some of the critiques about universities needing to do better to have a diversity of political perspectives and thought, that's fine. But the answer to that is not to just tear everything down with rage. And that's why my view is that the response to Trumpism, I mean, I think David Brooks has this great point. He says he asks the right questions, he just has all the wrong answers. Doesn't mean that we don't ask those questions. He's identifying problems in our society, and then the question is, how are we going to respond to them?
So you've described establishment Democrats as stale, and you told a Bakersfield town hall, that's what you said, that when it comes to Democrats, the old guard isn't cutting it. And you backstage gave me a list of 7 names. Can you just say the 7 worst Democrats that you told me about backstage? The ones you think just gotta go?
Well, look. I think I give Dick Durbin a lot of credit, right? I mean, here he is, someone who has had a distinguished career, gracefully moving aside for a new generation. And I think you're going to have a new generation of people across the country of different ideologies come out and have new ideas. Do I think I mean I don't want to go through that. I will say Schumer, I think, really disappointed a lot of people. I mean and didn't rise up to the moment. He was a phenomenally talented majority leader during Biden. Like, he's really good at getting legislation done, but he's not meeting the moment right now in terms of what it's going to take to offer an alternative.
Love it or leave it is brought to you by OneSkin. There are plenty of skin products out there promising to turn back time, but how do you know they actually work? With OneSkin, there's no guesswork. Their products are backed by lab and clinical data and powered by their proprietary OS1 peptide. OS1 is the first peptide scientifically proven to target zombie cells, those dysfunctional senescent cells that speed up aging at the cellular level. You can only find OS1 in OneSkin's moisturizers, sunscreens, and now in their latest product, OS1 Hair. This daily scalp serum tackles those same zombie cells, but instead of targeting lines and wrinkles, it combats the aging cells in your hair follicles to reactivate your natural growth cycle. I'm going to get some of this going. I'll throw anything in there. Got to keep these hair follicles alive. They must stay alive.
Do whatever it takes.
They must stay alive. My fiance is so much younger than me. Cannot be bald. I'm sorry. I have respect for people with the confidence to go bald. It's not me. I don't have it in me. I don't know. I don't have it. I don't have it. It's perfect for anyone dealing with hair loss, thinning, or shedding. Or if you want thicker, denser hair. In a 3-month clinical study, they found real improvements in hair density, fullness, and overall scalp health. Try OS1 Hair or any OneSkin product with 15% off your first purchase. Use code LOVEIT at oneskin.co. I'm a huge fan of OneSkin. It's also really great to have it as part of your routine. I have found that I used to not do anything. I used to not wash my face. I just was terrible. And then all of a sudden I started making it a really nice part of my night. And I enjoy it almost like a video game, that like trying to have better skin is like earning points on face skin, and I'm trying to get as many points as I can. I'm trying to beat the record. So I'm a huge fan. It's great. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. I don't even need to do. The endorsement is my youthful appearance. Right, John?
It is.
Get 15% off with code LOVEIT at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code LOVEIT. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin and scalp with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.
So let's talk about the moment. You outlined basically a series of steps that you thought Democrats could take right now. This was about challenging 30 Republicans that we can beat. This was also about stopping this reconciliation bill. I'm curious, where are we right now in the effort to get 3 House Republicans to say no to the Trump reconciliation budget?
I feel much more confident today than if we were having this conversation a month ago. And the reason is because of things like Cory Booker's speech, because of Chris Murphy, because of AOC and Bernie Sanders, because of the town halls. There's a lot of energy out there. And so you asked specifically Bakersfield. I went there, I did a town hall, 1,000 people showed up, right? I don't have that, I'm not a household name like Bernie or AOC or Booker. The only time I'd been to Bakersfield was for good Indian food, right? I show up and...
That joke kills in California.
And look, David Valdez, it's 2/3 Medicaid patients are in his constituency. And then Bernie goes there, AOC goes there, Jimmy Gomez goes there, and just 2 days ago, David Valdez suddenly finds religion and he says, well, along with 11 Republicans, I'm not going to vote for any Medicaid cuts. So the organizing is having an impact. And the second thing that's having an impact, other than these awful cuts for tax breaks, is that they're literally destroying the economy. I'll tell you the average Silicon Valley text I've gotten from people who voted for Trump.
Was it something like, goo goo gaga, I'm a big stupid baby?
Well, I'll summarize it this way. It's like in this country, for whatever reason, you can commit crimes and we'll forgive you. You can have affairs. You can, people will forgive you. You can do an insurrection, we'll forgive you. but you can't go after people's money. You can't go after people's money. And so these people are like, well, I thought I'd be making more money under Trump. I guess that's not true. Well, yeah, no. When you go after the courts and you threaten to fire Jerome Powell and you have irrational tariffs, that was predictable. But now you suddenly have people who have losing confidence in him. Now they're reluctant to say so because they think he's going to have retribution. But this is where we need to find the courage. I mean, if you're having doubts, speak up. And this is the time, I think, that the pendulum can swing back and people are really waking up at his incompetence.
So as somebody, you have unflagging energy and boundless takes. We don't have enough time to have you weigh in on everything. You'll have to get your own podcast for that. But we do want to get your...
Politician podcasts are the most boring thing. I know some people have tried... I mean, why would you want a politician who like 70% of the time is thinking, are they going to say something that gets them into trouble? Not me, but on a podcast. It's just go on other people's podcasts. Say don't do your own podcast. That's my view. Maybe I'll be like a dinosaur. Everyone will have their podcasts. I'm not having a podcast.
No, yeah, that's smart. Well, it just seems like if your goal is to get in front of people that aren't familiar with you, anyone who's downloading your podcast as a politician, you've already, in some sense, gotten. So you need to go elsewhere. So stop doing the podcast.
I'm also like philosophically opposed. You know, there are all these technology things. You've got to control the medium. You need to talk to your followers. You need to have the ability to communicate in a way that isn't filtered by the media. No, that's not democracy. Like, the whole point is you should be filtered. You should be questioned. You should be challenged. You should be talking to people different than yourself. So, just because Donald Trump has the model of Truth Social, like, he is destroying democracy. This isn't to be imitated. It is to be rejected for alternative models.
Yeah. And on that note, we do want to get your quick thoughts on a few pieces of news in a segment we're calling The More You Row. All right, I'm going to give you a topic. In return, you give us your gut reaction. First up, the Pentagon is in chaos and only one Republican, as of this recording, Don Bacon, has called for Pete Hegseth's resignation. It's a fucking joke. Thoughts?
Don Bacon is the chair of the Armed Services Committee for City, and I'm on the ranking member, and I'm really proud that he's actually had the guts to do that. By the way, he's the only general, highest ranking general in Congress, and so he understands the stakes. But the fact that you don't have every national security Republican out there calling for his resignation just shows. I mean, like, they don't understand. They're losing their two things. There used to be they never were good on, like, we care about people, poor people, and we want to build inclusion. Their whole thing was like, we know how to make you money and we know how to keep you safe. And now they don't know how to keep us safe because they're leaking war plans and they don't know how to make us money. Like, I think their party's in a lot of trouble.
I'll be honest and say that I am surprised by just how low Marco Rubio has gone. I am. I never have been a fan. He's always been very small, which allows you to get lower under things and so forth between floorboards. But have you been surprised by how willing he has been to go along with this disgraceful, lawless crackdown on legal immigrants?
I have. You know what I've been surprised by? Like, there's not more ambition in the Republican Party. You know, like I used to criticize Joe Biden, Psaki, all the time. I mean, and you did it partly out of belief, but like, if you're a Republican, I was cheering when Ted Cruz was like, I oppose the tariffs. And I'm thinking, okay, Ted Cruz is thinking, because he's such a calculating guy, that maybe he can run for the nomination against JD Vance when these tariffs don't work out. And I was like, where is the ambition? Like, let's get a little more ambition in the Republican Party so there are 15 people positioning themselves to run, as opposed to just totally kissing up to Donald Trump, who's going to be a failed president. It's not the lack of courage, it's the stupidity that is bewildering.
JD Vance met with the Pope.
Let's say that.
The Pope died shortly after meeting with him. Coincidence? You're not on your platform. Deal with it.
Can't catch a break. I don't know. I mean, maybe he'll find religion. I don't know.
Oh, I have to say, if I was a deeply Christian Catholic and I met with the Pope, he scolded me and then died, I'd think about it. I'd think about some of my ideas in the shower, at least. On Sunday, the president handed out Trump collectible trading cards to the children gathered at the White House lawn. Here he is, showing an adorable child a card with his Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt on it. Ro, are you going to collect them all?
I don't even know what to say. I mean, it's just unbelievable. With kids, too.
Trump is hosting a dinner for his biggest meme coin investors. Have dinner with President Trump and the $Trump community. The invitation said, according to the Times, let the president know how many Trump coins you own. Extraordinary corruption, just out in the open.
It is, and I know like people are like, oh, this is this Bitcoin or NFT things. No, this is not like some complicated technical issue. Let me just explain very simply what he's doing. It's like opening up a Swiss bank account where no one else knows whether someone's depositing money, which is basically this coin, and telling people, okay, come deposit money for me, buy my coin. That's what's going on. Like, if you're the prime minister of some other country or head of state, you'll be like, well, let's just buy some of this Trump coin, and when we meet him, we'll show it to him, and no one else will know. And it's really just the most blatant corruption. It's unbelievable to me that you haven't had anyone speaking out about it. And it's all garbled with all this techno-babble that means nothing. It's just pure corruption.
So what do we do, you think? How do we stop it?
Well, we stop it first by speaking out. Look, I get that people are upset with members of Congress and senators saying we haven't done enough. And I also get that for the first month, collectively, we should have, it took us a while to find our voice. I do think we're finding it. But this country, we don't have congressional sovereignty in this country. We don't have executive sovereignty. We don't have judicial sovereignty. We have something called popular sovereignty. That means it's not just 212 House members and 47 senators. It's our law firms. It's our universities. It's banks. It's technology leaders. It's people. We all need to start to speak up. And there are too many people in this country who are afraid. And they're afraid, and they're thinking, he's at 45%. Democrats are going to win back the House. Democrats will win back the presidency. Let's just keep quiet. Let's not have him go after us. Let's keep making our $6 million per year partner profits, and let's just ride out these 4 years. That's what's going on. So you can blame members of Congress, and I agree we got to step up our game, but so does every American citizen who's concerned about democracy.
That's a great place to leave it. Congressman Khanna, thank you so much. One more time. It's great.